Welcome to Encountering Christ, a podcast about meeting Jesus in the ordinary moments of life and learning how to invite others into those encounters as well. Each episode explores practical ways to recognize Christ at work in our daily rhythms, grow in our own faith, and engage the people around us with grace and truth and love. So whether you're at home or on the road or in a quiet moment of reflection, our prayer is that this time helps you see and share Christ more clearly. Now, yesterday we talked about how every human knows of God, both from what is visible and what is invisible. Today and for the next 4 days, we're going to be talking about 4 classic arguments for the existence of God. And remember, we're just starting and laying a foundation for why and how we can have a relationship with God. The first argument that we're going to be looking at is called the cosmological argument. And the cosmological argument goes something like this. Every known thing in the universe has a cause. Therefore, the universe itself must also have a cause, and the cause of such a great universe can only be God. It should be noted that this is an argument from science. And is that okay? Well, of course it's okay. I know that we live in a world that says God and science are in competition with one another, but that is a mistake, and it's not true. Christians are not against science, nor in competition with it. Historically, the reason science exists is born out of the understanding that God created everything, and therefore everything has order. And since it has order, that makes it studyable. And science is our attempt at studying how that order works. The two are not enemies. And of course, I know that there are many in our world who are trying to differentiate between the two, saying that Christians don't believe in science, but it's just not true. Most of the time when someone says that, they'll go back to times in history when people didn't understand how something worked, and they automatically attributed that thing that they didn't understand to God. That storms were the result of this god or that goddess, or earthquakes are the result of a different god, and so on. And then the argument then is that now that we know how storms work, we don't have to attribute things to God. And so this argument separates God from science. But when we talk about God, we're not talking about what is called the God of the gaps. In other words, we're not talking about God as an explanation or crutch for things that we don't understand. Now, certainly there are some mysteries that we as humans don't understand today. But our argument for God as creator doesn't merely lie in those things that we don't understand. The first sentence of the Bible doesn't read, "In the beginning, God created everything we don't understand." No, that's just a silly argument. We see God not only in what we don't understand, but more importantly, we see God in what is. Science itself reveals God. The more we understand about creation, the more we understand about God. In all things, this is true. For example, humans are logical thinkers. God created humans in this way, unlike anything else that he created. And I'm not saying nothing else in creation uses logic. I'm saying nothing in creation uses logic in the capacity that humans do. And if we were to scientifically study the manner in which we think, the more we understand about it, the more it reveals the nature of God. In the same way, the more we understand about the order in nature, the more we understand about the nature of God. The more we understand about how humans see that abundance in life is good, the more we understand about the nature of God. The more we understand about truth and that there are things you can always count on to be what they are, the more we understand about the nature of God. The more we understand how to live, how trees and animals or people live, the more we understand about the nature of God. All of the sciences and studies of man only teach us more and more about the nature of God. Art teaches us about beauty. Engineering teaches us about how things work together and work at all. And the list keeps going. all of the sciences and studies of man, psychology, biology, music, mathematics, and on and on and on. The more we learn, the more we know about the nature of God. John Lennox speaks of the writing of Isaac Newton in his greatest works. And he notes that Newton saw that the more he understood about how things work, the more he admired the genius of the one who made it. Even Newton saw that science caused him to admire the one who created it all. Science causes us to see God. Now, the second thing to point out is that science can only go so far. Science by itself is not enough. For example, if you see water boiling on the stove and ask, "Why is the water boiling?" you might say, "Well, the heat makes the molecules move faster and the friction produces heat." Or you might say, "It's boiling because I want to make a cup of hot chocolate." Now, both are true. One explains how things work, and the other explains why things are the way they are and the meaning of it. You see, science by itself struggles with answers to the question of why and meaning, only because in most cases they have limited themselves to how and how alone. Many scientists will argue that the question of why is immaterial, thus purposefully limiting themselves. But as believers, we see God both in the how and in the why. Now, what does this have to do with God in the rhythm of your everyday life? Well, here's how. There's nothing to fear. Christianity is not anti-science or anti-logic, for that is where God is found. Look for God in what is, how it works, what happens when it is not managed correctly. Look for God in the how. And when you start to see God in the how, you can start to notice that this world would not exist unless someone created it. It can't be an accident. And as you look for God in the how, it will teach you about his nature. But don't stop there. Ask yourself the why question and the meaning question, because you will experience God in those moments as well. You see, God permeates everything. He is clearly seen from what has been made. In short, it's okay to be scientific about God, for truly every known thing in the universe has a cause. Therefore, the universe itself must also have a cause, and the cause of such a great universe can only be God. And why would he do this? It's because he loves you. You see, it's more than just an argument for the existence of God. It is a statement about what we already know. So today as you go, let go of any misgivings or fears you may have about seeing God in the everyday. Let go of the urge to fight the truth and simply let God be the God you already know him to be. God bless you today. Look for Jesus as you go. We'll see you next time.